rarely do we see safeties go in the first round of the NFL draft, but 2026 might be a little different. We could potentially see 3 be picked on opening night. We analyse all of it in our 2026 NFL draft safety rankings. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button and let's get into it. Yes, welcome back to Draft Talk, the podcast covering everything NFL draft from this side of the pond. I'm Owain, joined again by Stu, and today we're ranking the safeties in the 2026 NFL draft class. And it's a really strong group. There could be multiple first round picks and real depth through day 2 as well. Stu, I actually really enjoyed watching this safety group. There's not very draft classes since doing this that we can say that about. What stood out to you?
Yeah, it's a class, I think, is what I would say, and what I mean by that is
depth.
We've actually got people who we want to talk about beyond maybe the odd one. We've occasionally seen someone, are they a first rounder, and then it falls off after this, but we could see multiple first rounders. So yeah, it's a really exciting group.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if we don't get at least 2 first round picks at safety. I mean, we're talking Caleb Downs, we've got Dillon Thieneman, we've got Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who we're going to get to, I'm sure, as we get to the top of this class, but we'll get back to the rankings if you're ready, Stu. As always, we'll each give our top 5s from 5 through to 1. If you haven't seen our other lists, although, say, we've got a feeling that the top of this list could be quite similar when it comes to it, because we've got an elite prospect at the top. But yeah, we don't know each other's lists, so you start as Stu. Who's number 5 for you at safety?
Yeah, number 5 is the one where I kind of struggled again. We talked about this in the corner episode. That I think I had a top 4 that I was quite happy with, and I've kind of wandered around, and I've eventually settled on Zakee Wheatley from Penn State.
We're on again. We could go. I've got him at 5 as well.
Oh no, that's the one I was really. Ooh, yeah. That's interesting, because I did have a little bit of a debate. I didn't really expect that. I wasn't sure he would be your type of guy. I don't know why, but so yeah, Zakee Wheatley, he's the safety from Penn State. I quite liked watching, actually. I was a bit I'd heard murmurs about him and kind of thought, no, I'll make up my own mind what I think about him, and I was more impressed than I was anticipating that I would be. He's got really good long speed, which allows him to recover particularly well. Each year he's improved steadily in coverage. His run defense is really good. He triggers downhill very well with good timing. Got good ball production with 9 takeaways, including 5 interceptions. He can play across both safety spots, and he's occasionally can play in the slot as well. Got good length with a long tackle radius, and he's played well, particularly in that playoff run in Penn State in 2024. Missed tackle rates improved dramatically over the last year as well. His weight's a little bit on the light side, and his tackling technique's a bit inconsistent. Things that kind of got for me, he does get a little bit stuck sometimes on play action, when he can freeze a little bit on what option he's going to take, and his pursuit angles sometimes need a little bit of work as well. But there was a lot there to like from him. I think I would have him more as a free safety than a box safety, but I think he has capability to do both. He's got a really good athletic profile, and he can handle slot receivers and tight ends and sub packages if need be. I think for me was his arc. He's continued to improve year upon year. You could see that growth. He went from being a rotational piece to a productive starter to a better player as time went on. He's not necessarily going to be the anchor in a secondary in week 1, but I think he'll get more time as the years go on within the first year or 2. And they can just allow him to gradually grow into the NFL game.
Yeah. He's a player that I like more of a split field safety who I can rotate down into the box, because I liked enough of what I saw of him active in the box, but I'm not sure you'd want him living in that strong safety role full time. But in coverage, 0.11 yards allowed per snap in coverage across his career. He's just been outstanding in terms of his range, only allowed 7 receptions in 2025. Just a long-framed physical safety who's reliable enough in run support and it has that rotational coverage value. Who it's just there's so much depth in this class, but I feel comfortable playing him straight away. He's got special teams upside as well because of that size, because of that length profile. I think that translates to match up against tight ends if you want to. Although he's 6'3", 203 pounds, so he is lighter, but he's by no means the lightest of corners. But he carries that length really well. I think he's well distributed in terms of his build, and that shows up when he's playing through contact. He's not easily displaced when he's lining up against tight ends or climbing linemen, and he's able to read run concepts with discipline. Tackling technique could do with some work, but I think he rarely leaves his feet unnecessarily, and he could become more consistent in his finishing and being able to stay square. But I saw enough in terms of his play strength, and I think that play strength shows up at the catch point as well, especially against bigger receivers, and disciplined enough to maintain his landmarks in zone. So really liked what I saw of him. He maybe doesn't have the top end true sideline to sideline range, which is why I like him in that kind of split safety role. And his hip fluidity and his transitions were tight at times, but in terms of the skills and the ceiling, I really liked what I saw from Penn State safety Zakee Wheatley. So yeah, he's a number 5 corner for me.
I hope he's number 5 safety because that's the episode we're doing.
Oh, did I say corner?
You were still stuck on corners.
Still on cock and corners, yeah.
I'll leave you off. It's all right.
Thank you. I did.
Some of these players we've been watched, they do mix between the two. Who's going to play safety, corner, and nickel. So I'll let you off.
Yeah. If anyone hasn't noticed by what we're wearing or whatever, then we tend to record 2 episodes on the same night. I'm sure I did that with running backs and wide receivers as well.
I've done it before as well.
You get it parked in. Number 4 then, who've you got?
Is this where we ruin it or not? AJ Haulcy from LSU.
Yeah, I've gone at 4 too.
Oh, this is unprecedented waters we're getting into now. I'm going to have to do something crazy shortly. Yeah, so AJ Haulcy, the safety from LSU, just bang on the 6 foot and just about that 215-pound mark, so slightly stockier build. Very adequate 40 times 4.52, right around what you want to see from a safety. He's somebody who's got really good zone coverage instincts as well.
Instincts is the word that I've got littered through the scouting report.
Yeah, he reads quarterbacks from that deep alignment and triggers downhill when he needs to. He likes to attack the football in contested throws. He's got 10 interceptions and 19 passes defended, so that turnover production is really there. He's thick. He's got that physical advantage. He's able to drive through ball carriers. He's really patient in those zone areas, and he funnels the quarterback down into those kind of check downs where he's shrinking the windows for them. He's a willing and effective run defender. He's reliable sideline to sideline. He finishes plays really well. And against those second level blockers, he's got a little bit of strength there to him as well. Maybe not the loosest in his hips to run with those vertical routes. And sometimes is a bit too upright in his back pedal, which leaves him a little bit flat-footed. Lack maybe the top end speed to recover, and he sometimes does let blockers wall him off from a play a little bit. But I think he understands spacing well, sits between the routes well, and he goads quarterbacks into mistakes. I think he's got enough about him to come down and play in that box as well. He's physical enough there. So there's a little bit of versatility in his game. Just a really solid player.
Yeah. 6 foot, 215 pounds, so stockier, as you said, but so fluid with his movement skills. So yeah, a fluid, instinctive coverage safety, natural ball skills as well. And I think he's that true middle field rangy safety whose NFL ceiling hinges on his ability to play strong, finish consistently, and really read and react to what he sees with those instincts, because he's really loose-hipped as a mover. He's got real sideline-to-sideline range, advanced route anticipation with those instincts, and his ball tracking over the shoulder is exceptional when he's following in routes. That I don't necessarily think he played up to the 215-pound weight. I thought he would have potentially been lighter than that. I think he plays lighter than that, which has its pros and its cons, but there's maybe some volatility there. But in terms of his range, covers ground effortlessly from deep, opens his hips up loosely but cleanly and accelerates through the strain. And those loose hips mean that he's able to plant and drive with his legs and his mechanics to read and react to breaks when he's following in routes, and to jump on balls as well when he anticipates it. But yeah, he doesn't necessarily he doesn't have the requirements that other players do athletically, because his instincts are just one step ahead of everyone, and that anticipation, just the understanding of the layering of routes, especially when he's in that kind of centre field and he's viewing it all, is able to jump on balls and take the right angles as well. But then when he's trusted to be in coverage, he has that versatility to be to kind of roll with routes and stick with players in this play speed. So it's not just it's fast, but it's also timed. He plays with that timing of the natural understanding and recognition of timing of when breaks happen and when he needs to accelerate. Really didn't have a whole lot of weaknesses on his tape, to be honest. I thought that his play strength needed to not necessarily bulk up, but he needs to play up more to that 215 pounds. I would say. I thought he was good. I'm actually surprised. I thought he would have been lighter than that. I thought he played leaner, and that came into some of these tackling consistency, where he arrives urgently, but isn't necessarily always controlled through the tackle. But there's maybe some over aggressiveness at times with that urgency to come down. So I don't think he's necessarily that true box presence. He's kind of that deep field roaming safety that you want jumping on routes and being instinctive. But he projects as kind of that centre fielder at safety whose value with his range, his anticipation, his ball production will be high. And again, he's a player that I think will go early on day 2.
Totally agree on that one.
Number 3. I'll go first on this one, seeing as give your voice a bit of a rest. I've got at 3. I've got Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. Are we matching?
I've ruined it.
Oh, okay. I'm not necessarily surprised by that.
You're not surprised.
I'm not, because he's your type of player, and I knew you were high on him anyway, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, he's a downhill thumping, tone-setting safety who thrives in the box with that versatility and reliable run game instincts, and projects as that kind of package enforcer, early special teams value as well, and really has upside and developmental traits in coverage is how I framed it. Is a physical overhang defender, confident triggering downfield, as I said. Reliable in open field as a finisher when he squares up, and that coverage ceiling really is tied to his fluidity through his transitions. Absolutely pops through contact. When he sees the strike zone, he hits it, and he absolutely he's a thumper. Drives through ball carriers with that leg churn, and it just rolls his shoulders to drag down tacklers. Comfortable setting the edge as well. He was just able to do everything on that Toledo defense, and he was just trusted to do everything, and he was just quite clearly so much better than everyone he went up against that he could have been a second slower than everyone else, and he still would have been able to make plays because his timing as a blitzer, his zone awareness as well in short areas, that competitive temperament which I've summed up there, his ability to play urgent and with edge, a big communicator as well pre-snap. The weaknesses for me came with I don't know how that long speed and deep range necessarily. I can see how it projects to the NFL, but I think it's better from the 2 players I've got ahead of him, where he sometimes maybe struggles when he's isolated when playing single high, and his hip fluidity and man coverage appeared a little bit tight. But I think sometimes he just looked a little bit bored, I'll be honest with you, because he literally could just do everything at that level. At that level of competition. So we said at the start there could be 3 first round safeties. It really wouldn't surprise me, because I see him in that vein. I just have 2 players ahead of him.
Yeah, I really like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, so it's no surprise I
Yeah,
had him at two.
yeah.
I think when we did one of the early mock drafts, I had him go to the Cowboys, but I can't remember which pick it
It was the
was.
second
If it
one.
was with the second
Yeah,
one, and I'll still stand by that just now. If you're asking him to play single high or man up against speed or vertical routes, I think that's a mistake. You want him as the that enforcer,
yeah,
in that when he's that kind of in that robber coverage where he can trigger downhill with his eyes right. Um, nine forced fumbles, that's by no accident. They come from his deliberate attempt at attacking the ball. Um, he's physical, he's rangy, he's big, he's not got the biggest athletic traits, but you're not wanting him to be an athletic traits guy. Um, he's comes as he can play in that split, and but he's coming down from depth. I think he fills gaps really well. He's just a tone setter in the middle of a defense, and if you play him in the sub packages, don't have him up high on his own.
yeah,
That's just not going to be a suitable game for him. We've seen other safeties who've come in and played this kind of role before, and I think he's as good as anybody at it. I really like him. If a team takes him in the first round, I think they can be very happy with him. And again, Miami's team is so rubbish, we'd take anyone in the first round, but I would happily have him in the back end of our defense.
yeah.
He just has that culture of leadership. I'm going to destroy, break up the other team's plays. Really like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren.
Yeah, he's absolutely that strong safety, overhang defender with that downhill trigger and box presence that when the reps he loses, they're almost exclusively when he's being beaten deep, where that
Yeah,
range shows up. So it's just that's a matter of usage, and I suppose how
he's
you
not going to be for
evaluate it.
everyone's scheme. Not
Yeah,
everyone's going to want him.
yeah,
They're not going to want to play that type of position. And again, there's other players. If you want to do something different and you want someone to play high safety, don't pick him.
yeah.
That's not what he's going to be good at.
Yeah, if you
Quick
want,
pause
before we get into the rest of the podcast, if you're enjoying these draft conversations, make sure you're subscribed and give the video a like. It's the best way to support the channel. All right, let's get back to it. If you want a rangy free safety, take the player that I've got at number 2, Dillon Thieneman. They're almost there's no similarities as such between them because I'll go on Thieneman because I've got him at number 2, and then you can jump back in, Stu. That he's so range driven with a kind of interchangeable split field ability. He's a high volume ball production guy as well. Played at Oregon in 2025, transferring over from Purdue. Asked to do something different, I suppose. That ball production at Purdue in 2023 had 6 interceptions. In 2024 was 7 pass breakups, 104 total tackles. Was absolutely exceptional. Was asked to do something slightly different at Oregon. Only allowed 15 receptions across the year, and 96 tackles, 2 interceptions, 5 breakups. 7 missed tackles, and the missed tackles has been something that have plagued his film throughout his college career, but has gotten better. But yeah, in terms of an athlete, that combine performance was an absolute all-timer. That he's an explosive, high-range, deep safety with rare closing speed, rare ball production. He can just erase space, but say must improve that finishing consistency in the missed tackle rate. To really truly maximise his impact. He's jumped up draft boards since the combine, but really what you saw at the combine shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who watched tape. That back in the summer I had him as a first round player, and I think he was in a lot of first round mock drafts. But he was a top 32 player for me when I did a big board in the summer, just because of what he gives you as a true sideline to sideline ranger, who's got elite recovery. He's got that extra gear. He's a natural ball hawk who attacks at the cash point. I think he's got enough tone setting physical temperament as well, but say that tackle volatility, it's just that question mark overhanging his film constantly. But yeah, rare closing burst when driving from deep, comfortable finding the football over either shoulder as well, times his jumps well and attacks through the hands at the catch point. The interceptions he has, they're not accidental. They don't just happen. That he understands where he needs to be. He understands the leverage and the trajectory of the route and the jump point. and at the catch point to really maximise that. He's quick to read and react, and his ability to diagnose intermediate throws and then to close in on those digs and crosses with urgency is there. So the comfortable with the deep coverage, competitive enough, versatile within structure, but yeah, that kind of that tackling consistency is troubling, I suppose, moving to the next level. But I don't think it will prevent you playing him as a free safety. That he can arrive too hot and he leaves his feet when tackling too often, where he's over aggressive on his angles, which leads to missed tackles, especially when operating in space. Maybe needs to shorten his strides as he arrives to kind of set himself for the tackle before wrapping. And that shows up in the run fits as well, where his discipline at times where he's slow to change his balance from one foot to the other in run looks, where he's more reactive than proactive. So he's definitely someone who thrives more in the passing game and where he can attack the ball from deep. But yeah, I've been a big fan of Dillon Thieneman since he was at Purdue, and I think he'll be an instant impact athletic safety who you just want to be ranging the secondary.
Yeah, I really like him as well. Although I have him three, doesn't mean I dislike him. I
No,
think he's a
exactly. Yeah,
really good
yeah,
football player. Um, but you're right. I think definitely in the passing game is where his great skill set is much more evident. He's extremely athletic. We saw that combine speed was unbelievable as well. Um, in the run game, I think that's where he sometimes can get caught a little bit, particularly if he's stuck on bigger bodies. He struggles to disengage a little bit from blockers at times. And you mentioned about his pursuit angles, which is something I look at safety. He does tend to come in either probably a bit over aggressive, and he ends up missing or having to grab at the ankles and things as well. But that's something that with just coaching
yeah.
and just I think it's easier to get someone to slow down than it is to get them to be there quicker. He's, it's not a bad thing to have to be there too quickly sometimes. Um, Ball skills really, really good. He's able to adjust his body and he comes at that catch point. He is a really competitive player. You've had coaches, teammates of both programs talk about his preparation and his effort, and he sets standards, which is a trait that you don't see on tape from people, but it's a really important thing when you're evaluating draft prospects. If teammates and coaches say that about them, that you're on to somebody who's at least giving themselves a chance. If they prepare properly, we've seen people with all sorts of talent who don't prepare properly and it fizzles out very quickly. I don't think that will be something with Dillon Thieneman. He goes about things the right way. The combine has rocketed his stock. The this is a this is someone who in some of the classes we could have done could have easily been safety number one
Yeah,
quite easily.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a guy at the top at number one who I think is a blue chip elite prospect. For me, Caleb Downs is the top player in this entire draft class. What do you think?
Um, if he's not top, he's in the top two or three.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's um Caleb Downs may suffer because of positional value, and that will be the only thing that would stop him being a really, really high draft pick. Um, he comes from a football family. His dad spent time as a running back. His uncle has played at corner, and his older brother obviously is now with the Colts as a wide receiver. So he's got that football pedigree. Um, his understanding of football is what sets him apart from other safety prospects we've looked at. Have we seen bigger prospects? Yeah. Have we seen faster prospects? Yeah. Have we seen stronger prospects? Probably. None of them read the game as well as Caleb Downs does. It's the understanding of right combinations, run fits. His processing speed is like those memes that you see with calculators flying about in front of these people and they're sitting at keyboards. That's what it seems like he is doing when he is lining up. He can play all manner of alignments. He could play in the box if he needs to. He can play split the field. He can match up with tight ends, slot receivers. He just knows what to do. He tackles with control but aggression as well. He's got excellent balance. He wraps through contact. We've talked about diving or lunging. It's rare you see Caleb Downs do those things. He's got a cornerback style of fluidity with his hips, so he can mirror breaking routes. He also is a commander at the back. He talks. He looks as though he's played the game for years. He's a ball hawk. He can manipulate quarterbacks with his eyes. Run defense. He fits the run well. He keeps his pads at a good level. He'll take on blocks. He also can contribute in special teams as well. He can punt return if he needs to be. Um, is there things he needs to work on? Yes, but not a lot. Um, Sometimes he can gamble a little bit looking for the big play on that interception. Um, but other than that, I think he's such a clean
Yeah.
prospect that Caleb Downs wouldn't surprise me if after a year or two in the NFL, we're talking about him as one of the best safeties in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's an elite prospect. He's my top player in this class. If you just look at the box score and you look at the data, you look at the stats, you're not going to be wowed by Caleb Downs. You will be if you turn the tape on, though, because he is by far the cleanest player and defensive prospect in this class. A rare, do it all, everything safety whose instincts, elite processing speed, versatility just eliminates any projection risk that's associated with him. I've said before on certain podcasts that I don't like the phrase plug and play because it's kind of wishy-washy scouting, but that's what he is. You'll be able to pick him up and put him into almost any scheme, and he can become your defensive centerpiece because he's got elite diagnostic speed with rare coverage versatility, true defensive chess piece with no schematic restrictions from what I can tell. And he's kind of a tone setting leader who's tape. I just don't have any concerns. The only weaknesses I could put down for him that he's just not a 4.3 run 40-yard dash runner. That he doesn't have that explosive top end range that we've spoken about with Dillon Thieneman. But I just don't care. I just don't think it matters because he's just so mentally
his
quicker than everyone
brain
else.
gives him the ability. For me, his brain gives him the ability to be a 4-3 player
Yeah.
because he can get there as quick as a 4-3 player because he's already processed what's happening. Whereas a player who might have the actual physical speed
Yeah.
takes that time to process that he doesn't, so he more than makes up for it for me.
Yeah.
So I don't worry that he's not
Absolutely. Yeah.
running off the track at the combine and at pro days. I don't care.
Yeah, it just yeah, exactly. It just doesn't matter. But it's the only thing that I could note that if you have it, great. But it really, to me, doesn't matter at all because his ability to diagnose route combinations and run fits pre-snap. Is rarely late when he's rotating from split field looks. Comfortable in single high, two high, robber, man coverage. It doesn't matter. He can do it all. Can play those midpoint vertical routes as well. Carries from the slot. He just plays with intent, plays with urgency, feels distribution from the offense, and has that developing positional tact to position himself and eliminate primary reads. His interceptions are kind of a byproduct of that anticipation and the speed rather than him gambling all the time. More than secure enough to rap as a tackler, discipline through it as well, competitive urgency. It doesn't lose his structure when he's playing with tempo. There's hot motor as well, which shows up late in games and late in drives, and has got that kind of backside pursuit to. It just brings steadiness to a secondary. Orchestrator as well. He's a team leader. He's a communicator. He's controlled with his alignment and he's dictating to other players. He just has the NFL ready mental load and his ability to adjust leverage for himself, but also other players on defense. Whether that's with blitz timing, spatial awareness and zone, competitiveness and competence in man coverage. Playing with discipline, playing with control. He's just so clean. I could go on and on and on. I absolutely love Caleb Downs. As I say, he is the number one player in this class for me, and I have absolutely no problems with it at all. That he was just so far away the cleanest prospect in this class.
Yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, so with Caleb Downs, where do you think his run could start? Where could he go? How high could you go?
I 5. I think it starts at 5.
Yeah, I was going to
Being
say
truthful.
that.
Um,
Yeah, I think the first four teams are not in that market.
yeah. I think he's deserving of going earlier than that, but that just doesn't happen at the safety position, unfortunately. I think it
Mhm.
starts at 5. Uh, I have put him there in a couple of mock drafts, but as time goes on, I'm leaning away from it. I have to be honest.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I have that feeling that yeah, not far past five. I don't think. I think there's options further down, but yeah, I think five might just be. I think for a first draft for Harbaugh, is a safety just a too rich a pick? I don't know.
yeah, and at that point, it's difficult because you're toying between players, right? That are you going to take the safety, or it could be are you going to take the running back, or are you going to take the safety? That could be
Yeah,
something that teams are,
yeah, might be.
or do you take the linebacker, or do you take the safety? That's going to be a really difficult conversation for teams to have in terms of how they value the talent against
Mhm.
the positional value, and that's going to be something that teams in the top 10 are going to just have to deal with. I certainly don't think he gets past 10. If he's there for the Bengals, then they
Oh
should
yeah,
run that card in. That would just be, I think, borderline silly for them to pass on him. I mean, there are good players. If Mansell Delane it was a competition between whether it's do you pick Caleb Downs or Mansell Delane, which there could be whether that's the Chiefs or whether that's the Bengals. That could be a choice that a team has to make. Um, I mean, Caleb Downs is a superior prospect to me, so you take
yeah.
Caleb Downs, but that's where kind of the conversation comes into it in terms of do you take the premium position, or do you take the premium talent?
Yeah, I think that's something that's we're going to keep talking about before the draft, isn't it? Is it value, positional value over player
Yeah,
value, particularly in this draft? We haven't seen anything quite like this where, I know we're deviating a little bit, but some of the top players are a
yeah,
linebacker, off-ball linebacker,
yeah,
running back,
yeah,
and safety.
yeah.
It's
The
not
top
happened very
three players
often.
in this draft are a safety, a running back, and a linebacker.
Yeah,
That's difficult when it comes to the first round, and especially the top 10, where teams want to pick edge rushers, offensive tackles, quarterbacks,
yeah,
whatever. Actually, I wrote an article on it for the touchdown. I'll maybe drop it in the description. People can have a read of it. But of how teams will have to weigh up those decisions, and why it
mhm,
matters for the NFL in terms of how it affects money and how it affects the cap of what happens with teams, because it really does have a knock on effect. But I think if you're drafting in the top 10, you'd be silly to pass on the talent here, because
yeah,
there is a small number of blue chip players in this class that, to me, you just can't afford to pass on if you're playing if you're drafting in the top 10. If you do you take Caleb Downs, or do you take an offensive tackle? I mean, that shouldn't really, it's going to be a discussion, but I think that's an easy selection in my eyes, that you just take the premium talent. Any other safeties you want to touch on?
yeah. I think it's a fairly good class of
Yeah, I think
safeties.
I think it's
Um,
good on day 2. I think once you get into
mhm,
day 3, it probably drops off. So you have like a
mhm.
cluster of really good players who are going to go on day 2, and then maybe drops off when you get to the 5th round or so. It doesn't have that kind of depth, but it has a load of starters who are
No,
going to
but
go on day 2.
yeah, I think everything is kind of
That middle,
pushed,
yeah,
yeah, towards that. Player quite liked watching Genesis Smith, the safety from
yeah. He's not going to be
Arizona.
for everyone, but yeah,
You know, he's a really good zone coverage
hmm
type safety. Uses his length well to at the catch point. He's comfortable sitting at that deep half or single high. He's a really good bat peddler, good ball production. Um, Tackling technique is not great, however,
yeah,
and his pursuit angles are a bit all over the place. But someone in coverage, he's a player that I liked.
yeah. That
Um,
that, that was it was a problem for me. I have to say that the
yeah, I
tackling,
mean
because
he's
if you're a
not.
safety,
He,
clues in the
he
name,
wasn't.
you're gonna have to tackle.
I see him being more somebody who's going to probably play in a nickel
Yeah,
role
there's
rather
a,
than
there's a bunch of them.
his
Yeah,
class of safety.
yeah, and his teammate Traden Stukes, also from Arizona,
Yeah,
also going to be one of those players who's going to be like that big nickel
hmm
safety.
yeah.
Um, Kamari
Kamari
Ramsey,
Ramsey as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, I was going to say he was one who was. I like him. He's six for me, so he would have been the next guy up.
Yeah, I did like Kamari Ramsey as well. I think just the kind of things that
I thought he was a difficult evaluation because he was asked to do so much. What he did in 2025 it was completely different to what he was asked to do in 2024, where he was much better. And I don't think that what he was asked to do in 2025, in terms of like playing the big nickel, I just don't think that's what he's going to be asked to do at the NFL level.
No, and of course he's missed time. Injury time has been a big thing for him. He's missed time in 3 seasons. But I think he processes routes pretty well. He's quick out the backfield for those kind of screens and flats, and he covers tight ends pretty well. So there's a lot around his game. I think the injuries have hampered him a little bit, and I think he hasn't just carved out a clearly defined role.
Yeah,
I think that's what
he was asked.
say for me.
He had heavy involvement from the slot, and took a lot of like strong safety box responsibilities in 2025, and I just don't think that suits his play style at all. I think he's
no, I'd agree. I think from a deeper alignment, he's better.
Yeah.
Again, he's somebody I think A2, third round, maybe someone will pick up. Kamari Ramsey. Anyone else that you were enjoying?
No. We covered a lot of names. The Traden Stoops we mentioned. Bud Clark, I really liked. Is light at 180. He's 6'1", 188 pounds,
small.
so he is light. But in terms of like deep field free ball hawking safety, rangy, instinctual. Really liked what I saw from TCU's Bud Clark. Saying that he's aggressive. He's got that anticipation. He's a player I could see going early round 3. Yeah, really good ball production as well. 3 interceptions, 5 breakups in 2025. 2 interceptions in 2024, 5 interceptions in 2023. He's just been consistently productive across his entire career. Spent all of it at TCU as well, and so it comes into the NFL with experience. I can see a team picking him up kind of that mid day 2 range, whether that's late 2, early 3, that kind of range. But yeah, I liked what I saw from Bud Clark. I say there's a bunch of guys who I think will be borderline day 2, early day 3 players, but then it drops off, whether that's VJ Payne from Kansas State, Cole Wisniewski from Texas Tech, whether even like Michael Taft from Texas, Bishop Fitzgerald from USC. There's going to be a bunch of players, but it certainly has a cluster of really good day 2 prospects, and I don't think you're going to see in general. I think this draft's going to be players you pick up in. We're going to see players drafted in the 4th round not make a team. I'm certain of it. That rarely happens when it comes to it. But this class doesn't have that depth. It has depth of starters up until kind of that early round 4 range, and then I think there's a significant drop off in talent. But I think in terms of the starters you're going to get across the first 2 days, I think is underrated. But it's certainly going to be a drop off once we get to those later rounds.
Yeah, so get you sleeping on Saturday night, people.
There we have it then. What a group the safety room is, yeah, especially once you get to day 2. That's going to be a really exciting run on safeties, and I think it's fair to say it's a good year to need one. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with our rankings? Let us know in the YouTube comments. And we have one position group left. That, of course, is the quarterbacks. Could be a spicy episode because this is a volatile quarterback class. So yeah, looking forward to doing that next week. So yeah, hopefully we'll catch you then for some more draft talk.